Hello and welcome to Bristol Sport TV. Well, each month we welcome stars from across our sporting group in to have a bit of a chat with us. And I'm pleased to say that we have got players and backroom staff in with us today. And we're going to get a bit of insight, not just what happens on the field or on the court, if you like, but also a peek behind those training room doors. And I'm pleased to say that Andy Rolls joins us from Bristol City. Hello.
Good afternoon, how are you?
Head of Performance. I'm very well, thank you.
Good.
And we've got Geary, Head of S&C for the Bristol Bears. And then we've got Panos Mayindombe, guard for the Flyers and player and currently injured, but we will come on to that. Thank you very much for joining us. And well, Head of Performance is a pretty broad title. So first and foremost, I'm going to get you to explain exactly what that entails. What comes across your radar?
Yeah, I won't bore you all day with that, but it starts with sports science and medicine. It starts with getting those things right. And overseeing that is my primary role and my primary aim of the week or the day. And from that, it expands into the planning of the calendar. So I work closely with Lee on the days we train hard and the days we train lower. So it's about getting the sports science side and the workload of the week right. And then it explodes into things like trying to get the clubs together, to learning, environment, getting a psychologist in, nutrition. Then it goes into things like travel and hotels and anything that can be put down in performance. The problem is with the title Head of Performance is anything can become as performance. You often find yourself saying, no, that's not me. Like the Wi-Fi not working is not really a performance issue. But that's sort of where I call the balance. The problem with the title is it can enclose everything, but I started with sports science and medicine.
Yeah. And that's where your background started, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And into physiotherapy.
Yeah, I'm physio by trade initially, and then I've explored and expanded into sort of the sports science and the conditioning side. And I suppose my area really is about managing people. We've got quite a big staff. And I suppose my unique selling point is how I manage those people and get the best out of them. There's clearly better sports scientists than me, but I try and get it all together and everyone to work as one performance team, really.
Yeah, and it was quite a challenge taking this job because, I mean, you were in, not to be rude, but you were in a very comfortable job at Arsenal as head of first team physio. Yeah. And that's quite a big jump to take on this role because you are actually almost moving away from the medical side of it, if you like, to actually managing people, which can be sometimes more tricky.
It was a job I didn't want to take initially, but then I came and met the people here and talked with Lee and Mark Ashton about the plan to go forwards, and once I'd met them I sort of got hooked, and then next minute I'd taken the job, and I have no regrets at all. It's a fantastic club. I think the people are brilliant. If anything, the people are often too brilliant and we try too hard where everyone just needs to relax sometimes, but I think I have no regrets, and my family and me are very happy. And
I know everyone talks, about this, is that push for the Premier League, and of course you've experienced that before at Watford. I guess that's part of you're all very competitive people. It's part of that challenge, isn't it?
Yeah, I've come here to do my best to try and get this team and club promoted in the Premier League. I would see that as I've been very fortunate and won lots of things or be involved in a winning environment. I would see getting this team into the Premier League as one of my greatest involvements, really. So no, I'm very excited and pleased and proud to be part of it.
Yeah, here's to that happening next summer. Or imminently
Yes.
soon. Kev, of course, you joined us over the summer ahead of this campaign from Ireland, and your title is Head of S&C. So talk us through exactly how that differs, because I know you guys have collaborated a little bit so far.
Yeah, it's probably not as broad as Andy's role, but mostly it's about coming in, identifying the physical qualities that we need to develop in all the players, individually and collectively, and sitting down with the player, identify how you're going to go about doing that. Sitting down with the coaches as well and actually identifying, well, where is this player's weak spots and how we can improve them to improve the team.
Yeah, well, it seems to be working. I think Pat's credited you multiple times so far in interviews. I mean, we have seen a real difference. I mean, it's a lovely statement to be able to say top of the tree, but I mean, he's credited you a lot of the times with those final 10-minute winning performances.
Yeah, I think look, there's a fantastic team there, both in S&C, in the coaching staff and in the physio staff. Obviously, they're all there long there before I was there. And yeah, all have worked really well. We all work really well collectively together as well, just to improve the team and just the players' level of effort. So we had a particularly long pre-season this year in around 16 weeks, which is probably double what you would normally have. And the players worked extremely hard, and they're the ones reaping the benefits. But no, it would be very little down to myself, really.
You're very modest. And now we've got a player as well, so slightly different focus on the end there, Panos. I mean, actually, you're the longest serving one on this little couch here, because you've been here for 2 years. 3 years. Is it 3 years? Third season.
Yeah, third season, yeah.
Sorry. 2 seasons done into the third season. You joined last year, and then you over the summer. So you're the veteran of Bristol.
I do.
You seem to be enjoying it.
Yeah, I do. I joined Bristol. I love it. I love the environment. I love the team. I love the city. That's why I stayed.
Yeah, well, it's been a pretty frustrating season for you so far, hasn't it? Of
Yeah,
course.
it is. Like, I'm now for this Achilles injury right now, 7 weeks already. It's been frustrating. It's the biggest nightmare for every single athlete to be injured. So,
Yeah.
but it's part of the game. You need to deal with it and stay positive.
And I know that I think you've been going up to Clifton a little bit to get a bit of help from the Bears, of course, with your Achilles injury, because, of course, there aren't quite the finances in the budget with Flyers. They don't have full-time physios, so being able to share that sort of cross-sport experience is helping.
That's a big help from the rugby. We go in there twice a week with Bristol Flyers physio, Craig, and we using the facility and the machine so we can for my rehab. So it's really nice, and we have the physio of the rugby team. We help us every time, so it's really nice.
Yeah.
And thank you for that.
It's interesting because we were just chatting ahead of starting this filming, and we were talking about squad sizes, and it's quite interesting the different. You kind of cast a sort of wry eye at the sizes that they're doing with. Of course, Flyers is just a squad of 12.
Yeah.
Bears is considerably bigger, 54, and football is up to 26.
That's what I asked them how they can manage like 54 players in one training. We are 15 with with 4 coaches, and we are all over the place. Imagine them.
Maybe that says more about basketball players. I don't know. So how do you manage 54 players?
Well, you've a pretty big staff, obviously, relative to the Flyers, and we pretty much start up every day. We would go through our full list of 54. That would be with the coaches, with the S&C team, and with the physio team. So obviously a lot of work going into it, but once we map out each day, we relay that information to the players so everyone's clear on their plan for the day as soon as they arrive. And then just at the end of the day again, we would have another sign-off meeting, go through all 54 again, make sure we've gotten through the right content for the day for the right player, and just get set up again for the next day.
Yeah, and I mean, it's busy with a squad of 54, but I mean, you're in a position at the moment where I think 47 of the players are all fit and well. I almost hate to say that because it almost goes to jinx something, but I mean, that's almost a headache of a different kind.
Yeah, so you're going to have obviously the 23 involved against Breve this weekend, and 2 days later we've a game for Bristol Bears A on the Monday evening against London Irish. So you've 2 sets of 23, and then we'll have a couple of players with their clubs as well, just making sure they get, obviously that's what they're in there for, to play rugby, so we just try and facilitate that as best we can.
Yeah.
When Kevin and me spent the day together, we talked a lot about it. It's often not the 15 or 11 that are playing, it's the ones on the fringe that are often the problem, because it's giving them enough exposure to games that when the manager calls them to start, they're ready. It's those that don't on the fringe that are often the ones, because you can't load them or train them because they might play, and then when they don't, you've missed a window. So I don't know if you find that's the same problem really, is those fringe players.
Yeah, a huge part of our role would be, so we have 3 strength and conditioning staff for the senior team, so you have Kevin Morgan, Sam Dodge and George Van Claveren, so their role is huge in that the players who aren't getting the exposure to games, that what activities we do are very similar to the sport itself, so you're actually trying to prepare them for that rather than doing any qualities in isolation. So those guys have a huge part in that, and they are the ones that are more difficult to manage, because obviously there's the frustration that they're not in the first team, but you want to make sure that what they are doing is preparing them for when they do get a chance, and when Pat does select them, that they'll perform really well.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you talk about that, because really you guys are almost having to purely concentrate on their physical fitness, but the mental fitness of being, one of the fringe players. I remember one of the GB hockey girls, Lily Owsley, who's a big supporter of Bristol City. I remember her talking about the GB gold medal winning team, and one of the things was having all of the squad fit going into those final games, but all jostling to want to be able to play, and managing not just the physical fitness, but the mental fitness of knowing if you're going to step up to the mark.
Spend so much time with the players as well. Those personal relationships have to be very strong, because then a player will open up and he'll let you know if he's struggling or if he needs a bit more work in certain aspects as well. So yeah, the mental side of it would be huge.
Yeah. And it's interesting with Flyers. I mean, it's a very data-driven game, isn't it? And it's quite interesting because that data side is such a key part now of all of the sports science. Is that something that's touching? I mean, while we output the stats of the actual game of how many scores and points and breakdowns of play, does that translate into your training as well?
after every game we have the scouting report. We go through the scouting and the stats. Of course, we see what we do wrong, what we do well. It's really important to have the stats after the game. We see this sometimes after the game. Have the changing room coach tell us what we need to do good, or even at halftime. The stats, the first thing is coming on the change room, so we can improve on the next half of the game. But yeah, stats is really big on. I don't know about football and rugby, but for basketball it's really big. So that's actually why we step in on our scout report the next week, so we can see what we do wrong, what we are better, and when we can improve our games every single time. And of course, individual. Of course, actually have the stats in every play individual, so you know where you need to work more, what part of your game you need to improve. That's really good.
Yeah, and of course,
Help
I
us a
mean,
lot.
fitness as ever at the end of games. I mean, Flyers, lovely 10-point win on Friday night, and that whole, the being able to carry it through and see the performance out. Fitness is such a key part of that. And I know, Rosie, you've talked so much about data-driven approach, and the stats are there. That is probably the biggest change in your field probably over the last few years.
Yeah, definitely. I think the other change that goes along with that is that footballers used to come and do the same training if you're a fullback, a centre forward or a midfielder. Now it is a team sport played by individuals. What a fullback does is very different to what a holding midfield player does, so training has to go into that. If you don't have the data to know what that role needs to be successful at, so we have breakdowns of the 6 best fullbacks in the league and we know where ours rank above that. We have data for the team fitness in total distance or high speed, and we've set quite strict aims or ambitions for where we want to be in that, because the fitter you are, you talked earlier, Kevin, about the late wins, we want to be as fit as we can possibly, and also being fit is free.
What we're doing at the minute is trying to marry our rugby stats with our physical stats as well, to make sure that we're not just looking at physical stats only as the barometer of success for the players. So what we would have done, we would have used it pretty heavily in pre-season in terms of leaderboarding the players in terms of output and on different metrics, which would be within those GPS units, just to get a competitive getting their competitive nature out within pre-season, because obviously they're not playing in a competitive game. But they're all very much competitive animals. But probably the most important part is trying to marry those with the actual rugby stats, as the guys do with the Flyers. It's not just about the physical side of it, because you might have a very intelligent rugby player who mightn't run as far as somebody else, but if you look at the physical stats, the young player might look better when actually he's running around like a headless chicken, whereas the older player, he knows where to be.
Just knows when to time his run.
Exactly, and that can be actually more important. So marrying those rugby statistics with the physical statistics is hugely important.
And, I mean, going up there and seeing that, I guess there are probably quite a lot of similarities. I mean, I guess for rugby, there's different measurements, because I guess the 15 players on the field have so many different levels. You've done the distinction of 2 players, but actually within rugby the physiques are so different, the measurements must be different.
Yeah, well, I think just going back to my visit was around, you go in with some preconceived notions, and it was probably that the guys weren't going to lift, do much strength work, when actually the entire squad were in doing strength work immediately after training, and it was like really good to see, and there's some really good techniques there, and clearly a lot of work has been done by Andrew, Dan and Derek and the guys with their squad, and there's a real belief around how much that brings to the table for them, how it makes the players more robust, how it makes them a bit more resilient, and stronger in contact as well in the game. For ourselves, we were probably the main aim was to pit the players against each other positionally, so as in to see who was fittest in your position, but then show them across over the course of the pre-season that they themselves got fitter every single week. And then you carry that in season, saying we're going to be the fittest team we can be, and that when we come to games like that Exeter game, that we know in the second half that we're going to finish it really strongly, and that just builds that belief then within the playing group.
Yeah, well, there certainly seems to be a bit of a momentum. Those second halves, I said to Pat in the week, God, what did you say at half time at Sandy Park? And he said, Not a huge amount. It was just, cutting down on the mistakes and and the swing of the game. But I mean, certainly our dominance in the second half, the fitness seems to be paying off. You guys over at SGS Wise, I mean, I know it's a very different setup in terms of, you don't have quite the level of full-time training, even though you're all full-time athletes and training very hard. I mean, you have a sideline as well as a PT instructor. So you get to work out even when you're not training.
Yes, I do. I try to work out pretty much every day. especially now because I'm not training much on the court, so I need to keep my fitness in good level. Because that's the thing a lot of players does. Like when they get injured, they don't do anything, and then it takes a long time to get back on the court. So when my time is to get back, I want to be ready. That's why I keep myself in as fit as I can.
Yeah. And in terms of your training schedule, I mean, I'm fairly familiar, and I'm sure actually people probably don't realise quite how much time you spend. So in terms of an average week, and I know there's all different phases of weeks of play and stuff, but I mean in terms of the guys are in first thing in the morning. Talk me through briefly what.
Probably for ourselves, as we get closer to the game, the training sessions get shorter. So you might be on the field for an hour, 2 days before the game, might be an hour and a half, 4 days before the game, and then maybe 60 minutes on the Monday would be a typical Monday to a Saturday game. But yeah, it wouldn't vary hugely. I think in season, and especially we have 15 competitive games in a row now, you try and keep it consistent. You change small aspects of training, but overall it's about consistency.
And of course you guys have a different problem altogether in that, of course, your home is at SGS-wise, but you have very set training times, and you can't really change those because it's a functioning college as well.
Yeah, of course. Like pre-season in the summer, like we have more bigger spells for training because it's a pre-season. You have to work hard. Now we are training pretty much every day, 1 hour, 1 hour and a half in the afternoon, and 2 hours in the morning, because our training needs to be shorter because we have games like during the week. So from Monday to today, we have practice almost 3 hours in total because we need to keep that like we cannot be overload before the game. You need to keep that like quality and not push too much. So.
And you have this moment where you'll have 2 games back to back. So often you could have a Friday night and a Saturday, or a Saturday and a Sunday with travel in between. You've mentioned you've got a midweek game this week, but then you've got a long break right up until the start of the BBL League in 6th of December.
Yeah, BBL is a little bit off with the schedule of the game schedule, a little bit up and down, but you need to deal with it. Is you are a professional athlete, you need to manage your time to rest. Like they mentioned before, like it's really important. Like we have a game, we need to eat well, we need to sleep well, we need to like today practice. It's gonna be more scout report, walkthroughs about what they do, what the other team does, and pretty much nothing more contact at all. And then we have 1 day off, and then we have almost 7 days to work hard until the next game.
So do you train in packs, or do you constantly train on the court together, but then you break away to do fitness and training?
So we do freight fitness in the morning. So we wake up in the morning and we have breakfast together in the Village Hotel, and then we go straight to the SNC session, and then we have individual basketball practice, like bigs with shorts, like with guards separate. So individual practice, and then in the afternoon we have the team practice all together. So that's how it goes. Pretty much.
It's more frustrating sitting and watching, aside from just the frustration of wanting to be on the court. I watched the when you were mic'd up for that Flyers game, and this boy did not sit still, jumping up. I thought he was actually the coach. I thought Andreas was just going to sit down.
Stay with it. He's a shooter. He's a shooter. Here we go. 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 Hey, stop the ball.
Yeah, I'm really passionate. Like, it's really hard to step on the sidelines. For me, I always want to be on the court with help my team, and it's my job now to step on the sidelines and just shout for them or encourage them. I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
I do my best to get a W every single time, even I need to clap my hands.
You've kind of adopted this kind of motivational role, though, within the bench team. I mean, it is quite interesting watching that dynamic, because you've become this kind of, for those of us that are old enough to remember Mr. Motivator, that I think that's you on the sideline.
Yeah, of course, because pretty much I'm the oldest player on the team, so waking up my teammates, so get involved, get ready on the court. So that's what I'm trying to do.
Well, I mean, those moments of motivation from the bench, I mean, we always see the Bears cam kind of thing of those moments, and boy, do you give us some last-second moments. I mean, that is quite interesting, watching the energy erupt from the bench. I mean, is there key people within that are the kind of ones that are shouting? I mean, we see them week in, week out, it seems.
No, I probably I've gotten a little overexcited in my first couple of games. Pretty much too emotionally invested in it, but no, I think pretty much everyone has been really pleased with the start, and obviously some of the tries we scored as well have been very exciting. But like post matches and the guys who are injured, the guys who aren't involved, everyone's in the change room afterwards, and everyone gets to share in those victories. So it's like it's a great part of the week, and it's like psychologically for them, it's great as well, because they do feel a part of it. And Pat's huge on that side of it, that everyone's working as a collective all the time. So whether it's an injured player, whether it's a starter, whether it's someone coming off the bench, that everyone's part of the day, even myself.
We talk about returning players. I can't fail to mention, of course, Corey playing for the under-23s the other night.
Yeah, he's done brilliantly. I think people forget that it's not just his ankle injury, his foot injuries, that on top of a bad knee injury. So he's had to keep himself going for over a year now, really, and worked exceptionally hard. And the staff the same. Jill and Andy, the physios, and Dell, the strength and conditioning coach, have had to work their socks off for a long time. And when Corey's not been that happy, obviously they've had to work extra hard, but Corey's fantastic around the place, and he'd be a great bonus to have him back, really. So he's done 75 minutes and now 90 plus, so he's in a really good place now, and he's just been fantastic to work with for unfortunately such a long time.
Yeah, well, we look forward to seeing him back to full fitness soon. Well, of course, we are in the month of November. I'm very disappointed to not see any of you with some slightly dodgy facial wear, but I know a few of our fellow colleagues have been sporting some. And what's been the outstanding moustache for Movember from your perspectives?
Probably Andy Oren and John Afoa of the playing group, so I would pay them a lot of money to shave theirs off rather than keep it for the full month, because I don't want to look at it anymore. But yeah, a lot of guys supporting the cause, staff and players. It
is always at that time, and it seems to be as well when you seem to be doing so many interviews, and there's just that it's a particular look, isn't it? Yeah, there's a few in City.
Yeah, we're similar to the basketball. The players haven't really, or not able to. They're too young to grow moustaches.
No. It doesn't grow.
It doesn't grow in the Bristol.
But you're supporting it nonetheless.
Yeah, but a lot of our staff have done it, and everyone's seen the gaffers at the minute. Wing Commander Johnson's definitely got one to be proud of at the moment.
It is looking quite spectacular.
Yes,
I have
it is.
To say, yeah. And we talk about other keeper, John Lansdowne as well. He's very proud of his moustache. Yeah. But yeah, I think a lot of us would pay for them all to take them off. Of course, Movember raising men's health awareness, and to such a good cause. And if you want to find out more, of course, go to the Movember site to find out more about all of the charities and things that they support. Well, of course, it's probably time to say goodbye. Let you get back to your day jobs. Thank you very much for coming in and talking to us. It's been a fascinating insight into each one of the clubs and what goes on behind the scenes and all the hard work. Of course, it is a busy month ahead as ever. Flyers, of course, they've got their BBL Cup game. They're into the final 8. They travel to London on Wednesday to take on the London Lions. At the moment, they're not scheduled to be back at SGS until December the 6th, which is actually the start of the BBL League, when they take on the Sheffield Sharks. Just a couple of tickets left for that one, and less than 100 left for the following week on December the 14th. So make sure you head online and get your tickets in early. City, of course, we said a busy week for the women. 3 games in 8 days. A small matter of taking on Manchester City at Stoke Gifford Stadium on Sunday. The early kick-off for that one at 12:30. And of course, you guys in action on the Saturday, back here at Ashton Gate as they take on Nottingham Forest. We're on over 22,000. It makes a big difference, doesn't it? That big, loud crowd. Yeah. So more than 20,000. Get online to get your tickets for that one. Bears, you get to travel to Brive. Have you been to Brive before?
No, I haven't been there.
That'd be very nice. I'd quite fancy Brive, sort of towards the south of France. Where are you flying into? Bordeaux, Toulouse, do you know?
Yeah. So
one of those.
3 days there as well.
Oh, tough. I think I might like to go to that. Well, if you haven't managed to get on the trip to Brive, make sure you follow us across all of our social media platforms. Kick-off for that one. Local time is 8 p.m, isn't it?
8 p.m,
yeah, at 7 o'clock, of course, here in the UK. But back here in action at Ashton Gate on December the 1st, when Bears take on London Irish. Well, that's it from us, and I hope you have a good week of Bristol Sport.